This week on Supercars Talk, I give my prediction on who I think is going to be the 2019 Supercars champion and give my prediction on who's going to be last next year. So first things first, the big news for the week. Jack Smith has been confirmed at Brad Jones Racing next year in a fourth car. His father bought the licence off, which one did he buy? The Jason Bright one that Matt Stone Racing's been using this year. I had to do a bit of a search there in the old Google head. So anyway, they've got themselves a licence. They're going to run as the fourth Brad Jones car, and they're going to come last in the championship next year. Pretty plain and simple. We've seen Macaulay Jones struggle this year, and he did better things in the Brad Jones Super 2 car last year, and in his wild cards he did better things. So I can't see how he's going to get off the back row of the grid. There'll be no Simona and Richie and people like that next year. So Techno, there's a bit of news about Techno too. They're the Team Sydney or whatever you want to call it. But they're supposed to be running a proper car next year with James Courtney driving with a teammate, things like that. So you won't have Jack LeBrock qualifying last or Jono Webb when he decides things can't get any worse. So anyway, on that Techno thing, basically Sean Seamer, who is the CEO of Supercars, he said he's still confident that there's going to be a two-car Sydney team next year. Apparently Rod Salmon, who's the other half of the equation starting this thing with the Techno team, apparently he's not part of it anymore, but Seamer, they're getting money from the government to do this Centre of Excellence or something like that at Sydney Motorsport Park, and part of that is get a team there, and all the Sydney-siders will come to Sydney Motorsport Park and cheer on the Sydney team because it's that simple. It works just like in football. Hint of sarcasm there if you didn't catch up on that. So anyway, apparently Rod Salmon's not part of it, but Sean Seamer's still confident. A lot of people are a bit up in arms that they can go and still get a licence because currently they only have the Techno licence, and there was the deadline for the licences, which Gary Rogers said, basically, we're not going to make the deadline, can we have an extension? And they said, no, Gary, you can. And yeah, a lot of people are up in arms saying, oh, well, how come Team Sydney Techno can still go and get their licence? Basically, it was for the teams who already had a licence to recommit. So Techno did commit. They're going to race next year. They just haven't done anything about that second licence, which there is currently 2 licences that are sitting there in Supercars headquarters, which is the ones that Triple Eight and Tickford handed back at the end of last year. So they said, when the deadline came out, they said, no, we're not going to field these cars, have the licences back. And I think because they buy them, I think when they sit there at Supercars, they don't have a say in how much it gets sold for, but if Supercars does on sell them, I think they get the proceeds from it as if they'd sold it, you know, like say Matt Stone's just gone and bought 2, you know, or the one that Jack Smith just bought off Jason Bright, you know, you're probably paying a little bit more of a premium for that. It's probably a little bit easier to get it over the line rather than having to go to Supercars and state your case as to why you should have one and somebody else shouldn't. In other news this week, it came out, they're talking that they might make the retro round have compulsory liveries. So, yeah, this is just, you know, let's rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic again, people. They're having a cry because the other year, I think like 75% of the field or something took part in it, and then there wasn't as many last year, and then this year, there's, you know, half of them just can't be asked with this. You have ones like Triple Eight with Red Bull. Red Bull very protective of their image and their logo and that, so it took a lot of work from Holden and whatever to get that retro thing over the line for Bathurst, and they wanted to have it at Bathurst because it was some anniversary of Tirana. Why? Some of these simple words, I can't remember what it was last week. Anyway, some Tirana winning Bathurst or something. I can't remember. I wasn't born then, so. Um, yeah, so they're saying everyone's going to have to go to Sandown and run a retro livery. Well, yeah, that's a great plan when you're struggling for money and you turn around to Monster and say, you've got to run a retro livery. What retro livery? They've run the same livery for the last 4 years or whatever they've been involved in the category. Let's go back to the retro they ran, when they first sponsored. Actually, they could run the one that they ran with Scott Pye in the development series, whenever that was. That was a few years ago now. It's, certain, I can understand, and you've got great sponsors out there like Penrite who, they want to play along with it, and others who don't, why are we dictating to the sponsors? We dictate enough saying we can't have cigarette sponsorship or, porn companies or something. And yes, it was something like that got knocked back. They wanted to sponsor Lucas Dumbrell a couple of years ago, and apparently that got the chop and they weren't allowed to do that. And Lucas had a cry because it was going to be worth a lot of money. I probably would have a cry too. But then you think mid-90s, they took away all the great cigarette money. So, I only think cigarette money is great because it funded, motorsport for so long, and they just threw money at the teams and didn't give a. And I didn't start smoking, I grew up watching all these mobile, fag packets run around the track. So anyway, compulsory retro liveries, stupid idea. Kind of on the Sandown theme here. This is probably something I should have covered off last week, but a couple of things that I'd like to bring up. Next year, because we're having the 500 at Tail and Bend, because we are, it's going to be junk. And yeah, whatever, bite me, because the racing there's been so great. TCR's there this weekend. It's recording on Foxtel. I might watch it during summer when I have nothing else to do. So they're not having it's going to be a traditional top 10 shootout at Tail and Bend next year. So hold on to your hats, people. That's going to be exciting. The thing at Sandown, the qualifying races and whatever, it was complicated and it was hard to explain to people and all of that kind of stuff, but it was fun. It was great seeing the co-drivers out there in their own race. As I think I've said before, they should have what we had a few years ago, where you could put either driver in either race. So some races you had the main driver in there against co-drivers, and vice versa kind of thing. So, let them, less rules on this, just free for all, let them go for it kind of thing. Bit more fun. And this other point I wanted to bring up was the Dandenong Road. I can't remember because every little thing's a corner number now, but the Dandenong Road corner, so off the back straight, the big fast one at Sandown, where we see all the spectacular crashes year after year. Something needed to be done with the runoff there. We saw a lot of accidents, and the thing was, like the Todd Hazelwood one from the other year, the race got delayed. It was like an hour or something. It took forever for them to fix the barrier and things like that. Yes, something needed to happen, but we don't need a Tilcadrome fucking car park there for the cars to just, over the weekend, anyone a little bit there, we'll just go blazing through there full speed. There's got to be a bit of risk versus reward on these things, I think. Health and safety getting a little bit out of control. The other thing, apparently that cost $1 million. There's a bit of tarmac and a concrete wall. $1 million. Like, I can see how the cost of these cars gets out of hand if that cost $1 million. Some other ridiculous things during the week. We're going to have a fan council to consult over the Gen 3 car regulations. So anyway, you ask the fans, they want things like that was essentially Group A, where you could go and buy the car. Well, Nissan bought 100 GTRs into the country. Ford didn't bring any Sierras into the country. There was the Commodores that got thrashed. And however many BMWs there were, which I don't think there are many, you couldn't go and buy the cars. It just, that kind of thing's ludicrous. And then we have the V8 Ute situation where everyone likes the V8, the Commodore and Falcon Utes running around, crashing into each other, drifting, whatever. That was all good. But we want cars that people buy. So they made the bloody, whatever they get, Super Utes thing, which is Tritons and Hiluxes and Colorados and D-Maxes and Rangers and BT50s and that. No, Amaroks, which, Anyway, they're what people buy. And the bracing is just crap. So let's maybe pick and choose what fans we're asking for this, because the general consensus kind of is we want cars that people buy, like TCR is things that people buy, which no, because people buy the bloody Tritons and the Colorados and the Rangers and things like that. Look at the cars. It's like Corolla, Mazda 3, and then it's all bloody four-wheel drive Ute things. So people buy those in bulk, and the racing's crap because it's just junk. Like, simple, Gen 3, strip cost out of the car. Let's have, Commodores and Falcons up against each other, and, let's try and get some other stuff in. Chop the top of the roll cage off so, we don't have this bastardised Mustang thing. And, Walkinshaw could do their Camaro, or, which apparently Camaro is off. But I have heard a new manufacturer, don't know who. Anyway, so just strip costs out of the car. Plain and simple. And speaking of ridiculous things during the week, Roland Dane has come out and said that issuing Dick Johnson Racing fines is a waste of time. Apparently this is because Mr. Roger Penske has billions of dollars. The guy just bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the IndyCar Series. So, watch yourself, Dane. He might just buy the Supercars Series. I can't see that. But why do we all of a sudden, just because this guy's got a lot of money, issuing him the fine's just stupid. But we haven't got much money, so Dane, you've had the most money of anyone for so long, and then all of a sudden someone else is out Roland Dane, and all of a sudden it's a big issue. Well, yeah, okay. Brad Jones Racing, if they got their $100,000 fine at Bathurst, $150,000, whatever, postponed, and whatever it is, if you do it again, we'll give you the full whack of the fine. But they only had to pay $100,000. Brad Jones Racing, that would be a big dint, where Roger Penske's probably like, let me just get it out of my back pocket and, here's your cash, kind of thing. But it's unfair to go, the guy owning the team, he's a billionaire, so the fine should be $1 million. And then, Brad Jones, he's, he just lives in Albury, he's got, a regular house and stuff like that. We'll just fine him 10 grand because, that's the equivalent. What happens when you come to Betty? Betty's got a lot of money sitting there. What do we do with that? The Webbs. Jono's not spending anything on the race car team this year, but essentially his dad's the owner, and I think he's he's probably got more money than Betty. And do you go, Steve Webb's got a lot of money, he should be getting a Betty size fine? Or is it Jono's only got the same amount of money as, what Brad Jones has got, so he should get a Brad Jones fine? No, you do something wrong, you get the suitable fine. Okay, Penske might be able to, run a little bit closer to the win because they know that they've got the budget there. But, you can't say, they get a different fine because they got more money than me. That's just stupid. Another piece of fun news that came out during the week is that Tanda had some offers for full-time drives next year. Interesting. I wonder who rang him up and offered him a drive. How serious these offers were, or whether there was money involved, or whether he was expected to be in a budget. He basically said, and Les Rowland's going to run a third car for him, not going to do it. Would be quite interesting seeing Tander in a third Triple Eight car though. Yeah, I think he'd probably rattle the cages of the other two a bit. He'd definitely be doing a better job than Coulthard, but that's a different matter there. One of the funnier comments I heard during the week was that, Valvoline will just sponsor the car. Well, if Valvoline would just sponsor the car, they wouldn't have had to get Boost in at Gary Rogers last year, because Valvoline would have just sponsored the car. And also, Triple Eight's got the big deal with Caltex that's been going on for years and years and years. So, can't see Valvoline just jumping on, their third car to be like them running a Mustang while the other two cars are factory Holden cars. Think about comments before you post them, people. Now, my preview for the weekend. Team 18, they're going to keep their retro livery for the round. Maybe they want somebody to see it in the sunshine, so hopefully it's sunny there for people to see it when it supposedly looks good in the sunshine. Kiss has cancelled their Newcastle concert. I think maybe because they're old and no good anymore or something. I don't know. One of the guys got sick or something, and so they can't do it. But Erebus is still going to run the Kiss livery. So obviously the cheque cleared, and they're getting paid for it, so they're going to run that. Unfortunately, I'm recording this a bit too early to know what kind of colour schemes the Brad Jones cars are going to be, and everyone else is probably going to look pretty much the same. Don't think there's going to be any special goodbye liveries or anything like that for anybody. And in the intro, my predictions for the championship, I'm just going to go out on a limb here. I reckon probably Scott McLaughlin's going to wrap it up. I reckon probably Bryce Fuller's going to win the Super 2 championship as well. So, that's just keep that under your hat though. Maybe have a sneaky couple of bucks on those ones. See how that goes down. There is still the teams championship up for grabs, and the positions in the championship ladder that people don't care about. Apparently, like Courtney's in 11th or something, and he'd like to get in the top 10. Well, who cares? The teams championship though is a bit of an interesting one. Triple Eight's coming through like a juggernaut since they got their boost in Pukekohe. So they've basically won everything since then except for Bathurst, and where they were run second in that anyway. So Coulthard's going to have to step up his game if he wants DJR Team Penske to win the teams championship. The racing over the weekend though, we could see some different people win. Dave Reynolds, he's done quite well there. Chas Mostert, could do a decent send off. He was pretty up there at Sandown. So, but I think it's probably going to be once again between the two Triple Eight cars and Scott McLaughlin, and I think Scott's going to go out in style and take at least one win over the weekend, and celebrate the championship the way he probably should have been able to at Sandown. So that's my news wrap up for the week, and a super quick Newcastle preview. So until next time, I'll see you later.
Put away your inhibitions, let the beast in you just get loose. We all young, wild, and